Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge. They don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like. Wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. If you guys are new here, welcome. Make sure all the intellects welcome the new subscribers in. And if you have been here before, welcome back. And thank you so much for supporting the platform. Where do we start? I have to do my intro after my intro. So we have been discussing all of these allegations that arose between Sean Carter and the Jane Does and other women that have alleged some heinous crimes against him. Well, recently, Sean Carter, did I say that? No, let me scratch that. Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, was accused of various allegations for the last year. Well, recently, one of the lawsuits named Sean Carter, who is also known as Jay-Z, added him to one of the Sean Combs complaints. And since that bombshell of amending the complaint, which happened less than a week ago, a lot has transpired. Before I get into it, let me preference this by saying that I have seen both sides in the position that I am in as an attorney. I have seen people that were true victims, and I have seen people that have not been so honest. So when I approach this, I approach that in that manner. And some people hate it. They don't like it. I've been accused of being paid off. I've had a lot of allegations that just aren't true. I just view it from the lens of an actual attorney that have seen people whose lives have been destroyed by allegations, and I've seen people that are victims whose lives have been destroyed. So I wait for all the evidence to come out and I present it as it is. So what you guys will probably see is, which a lot of people do, a lot of humans just do this, when you don't like someone, you want to believe the worst out of them anyway. So they approach it in that manner. So there's been a couple of people that I actually like, as people that have not even liked the way I guess that I have approached this, because I approach it in that manner. The evidence come, I give the information on both sides, regardless to whether it's favorable to one, disfavorable to the other, or whatever it is. And then at the end of the day, if they're in a court of law, the jury of their peers is going to decide. They are, in fact, innocent or not liable, depending on whether it's civil or criminal, until proven otherwise. And I reiterate that on this platform over and over, and I will continue to do so. So some people were making, looking at the complaint of one of the Jane Does that has now accused Jay-Z, and they were looking at his side eyes. People were scrutinizing it. Then you had individuals that were alleged victims of not necessarily this happening to them, but that have just felt like you should just always be on the air of somebody that alleges they are a victim. So I've watched videos of people saying, when you was 13 or 14, you was fast and you left and you went to places you weren't supposed to be. So why are y'all acting like this is so far-fetched? I've seen people, but a lot of that comes from a place of either they know these, in their mind, they feel like these people are bad people, or they've had situations that happen themselves. And so they come out like that, where they just want to believe whatever comes out. And I don't necessarily think that is fair. And I feel like if it was your loved ones, you would want the same approach, where prove yourself, in a court of law. And I think that unfortunately, people don't look that way, especially depending on their past history or their past traumas. So how I'm looking at this, as I look at all the other cases, is just from a unbiased view. I don't know none of these people. I don't have no, I like a couple songs from Jay-Z, but that's it. I don't know what these people do behind closed doors. Same things with Sean Combs. Y'all know I ain't liked them since the cheesecake. But at the end of the day, they both deserve to have their day in court and to be proven that they are liable for these things that these people are complaining. As it pertains to Sean Combs, he is innocent as he sit there until he is proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Speaking of Sean Combs, today, a dismissal was filed by his attorney. So he will not be trying to appeal the decision not to grant him bail. Remember that appellate court held it off until the lower court made the decision, and Sean Combs said that he was going to reserve his ability to appeal depending on what the lower court said. Well, apparently he's had a change of heart. He's thrown in the towel for now and said he's not even going to fight it as it pertains to the appeal. And perhaps it may be because now the judge has ordered he has 7 days out of the week in order to review discovery. He also has a laptop and he can review it from, I think it's 8 o'clock to 3:30, where he can review all the discovery on the laptop, and it's actually an order from the court. Perhaps his wanting to get out was because he wanted to be able to review all of his discovery so that he can be a part of his defense strategy, and that was being hindered. And now it gives a perception, whether it's true or not, now that the judge has kind of rectified that, he's not fighting like he was fighting before. So what we're going to do here is we are going to go over a recent filing that just happened. So a lot of people DM me about Tasha K and situation with her bankruptcy. I only got about a halfway through it, and a lot of the stuff I think we knew about already, about the alleged offshore accounts and all of that. So I haven't finished. I haven't even finished reading it. So I really don't have anything to say about that as of yet. But I'm like, what's going on with the Sean Combs? They've been a little quiet for the last 48 hours. And lo and behold, when I clicked on, his attorney has filed an update. And apparently Jane Doe has done an interview, and this interview has garnered a bunch of inconsistencies, or some inconsistencies, of which it prompted Jay-Z's attorney to file this letter with the court. And I think he's attempting to have some type of conference. So good to see you, Jay Vickers. Riri said, glad you are on tonight. I didn't want to hear anyone else tell this story but Pam. Thank you, Riri. You about to hear it in a minute. But yeah. So let me see something here. Let me see what this I'll probably end up changing the title, guys, if it's something that's wrong with the title, because it was supposed to go on Facebook, and then something kicked off of Facebook, so we'll fix it if there's something with the title. Let me see. Let me go see what y'all talking about, because y'all said it's confusing. So I don't want to confuse nobody. Let me see. Whoo, it's a lot going on this here. Let me see. Hold on. Y'all, please hit the like button on your way in. I greatly appreciate that. Let's see. Okay. That mother just see, that's what you get when you do talk to text on here. Trying to hurry up and go live. So it was supposed to read the Jane Doe accuser's father allegedly denies that allegedly denies Jane Doe's story against Jay-Z. So what I mean is, if you guys recall, the only person in the complaint, and I'll probably still change this title again, but the only person in the complaint that I told you guys could even corroborate the story was allegedly Jane Doe's father. Apparently, Jane Doe's father is not going to corroborate this story. So that's what it is. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was doing talk to text. Sorry, guys. Sorry for the confusion. Yeah. Jesus. Okay. Let's put this on. Before I start this, why would you just assume that he got paid? See, this is what I'm saying about when people have their own biases where they just want to believe, oh, it got to be a reason why the person is like not corroborating it. Everybody. And the reason why I don't agree with that means you just got paid is because people were saying I got paid and I know I ain't get a dime. Oh my God, she got paid from Sean Combs. She got paid for Diddy. I know she got paid from Diddy because ain't no way she should be out here windmilling for every victim. No, I'm just putting out the information that we have out there and how our judicial system is, thank God, where you ain't guilty until proven innocent. Now, in public opinion, of course, people can believe what they want to believe. However, the way it's supposed to go in court is you have to prove your case. And you have to have a jury believe what you're saying. That's how it goes. But anyways. Oh gosh. The court of public opinion will have persons messed up. They will, for sure. Okay, let's see what was filed. We can be respectable in the chat though. It just amazes me how people's like mind goes straight to that. Oh, it got to be something nefarious with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, let me go on. This is the Jane Doe v. Sean Combs, which also has Sean Carter or Jay-Z on it. And it's to the judge, which says, we write to this court on behalf of our client, Sean Carter, on a matter of extraordinary and grave importance for the integrity of the proceedings in the above captioned case. Today at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so about 2 hours ago, the news reported an interview that its reporter conducted with the anonymous plaintiff in this case. And so they have a clip of it. They have the link in the footnote. The interview outs plaintiff's allegations for what they are, a sham. Basic facts in her narrative, the who, what, when, and where are wrong. She claims her father picked her up after the assault. Her own father denies that ever happened. So if you guys recall from my previous videos, I was saying it sounds like it's going to be a credibility issue because in that complaint, if you recall, Jane Doe claims that she grabbed her clothes, she ran out of the room. It was a bunch of people in the house, but nobody saw her. So the way it was worded, you can tell there's nobody corroborating. It appears like that's what I got from the complaint, that she made it like nobody saw her. So I guess nobody from the party would be corroborating. She leaves out of the house. She goes down the street and she goes to a gas station. She says something about an attendant. She never said she had the attendant's information or name that was at the gas station. She used the phone and she called her father and she told her father what she had done, which was snuck out the house or being gone when she wasn't supposed to, and her father came and picked her up. According to this, allegedly the father is not corroborating that. And that would be, from the complaint, it sounds like the father would be the one that would be able to corroborate this story. Or at least say, hey, this is what she told me on that night 20 or so years ago. So there's that. She claims she spoke with Benji Madden at the party that night, but he was on tour in the Midwest at the time, forcing her to admit, quote, I have made some mistakes. I made a mistake in identifying, end quote. So she named someone she talked to, I guess, that night, and they were like, no, I was on tour. She claims the assault took place at an after party at Mr. Combs' home. But photos that night show Mr. Combs and Mr. Carter at Lotus nightclub for the after party. So at the after party that night from the awards, of which she's saying happened that night, was not at a home, according to this. It was actually at the Lotus nightclub. When pressed, the plaintiff admitted she was, quote, guessing about key details, including the time it took to reach the venue. She admits she has no single corroborating witness over the last 24 years. It's 1,000 of y'all. I need you to hit that like button, please. Thank you. These stunning revelations make clear that the complaint filed by plaintiff's attorney, Anthony Busby, therefore had no factual basis whatsoever. Even Mr. Busby is walking back the complaint he put his name to, excusing these glaring inconsistencies by pointing the finger at the case being referred by another firm who allegedly vetted the story before sending it to them. So allegedly, Tony Busby is saying, ain't my fault. This came from another firm, and they vetted them and they sent them to me. It was a referral. The heinous allegations against Mr. Carter are patently false. The complaint filed by plaintiff's attorney Anthony Busby, therefore, had no factual basis whatsoever. The heinous allegations against Mr. Carter are patently false. In light of these developments, it is now clear that Mr. Busby signed this complaint and other filings in this case in violation of Federal Rules of Civil Procedures 11. Under that rule, an attorney who signs a document assumes an affirmative duty to conduct a reasonable inquiry into the facts and the law before filing. And we went over this before, that when you affix your signature as an attorney to the complaint, you basically affirm that you are doing this based off of, diligent search and factual allegations. You can't just throw your name on stuff and you have not done at least reasonable, not 100%, because that's what discovery is for, but done your due diligence, because you can have these situations. This is a public document, and once it hits the public, it's very hard for it to be, once you ring a bell, it's very hard to unring the bell. Once it becomes a public document, you see, we're all talking about it. The attorney's signature denotes merit in the filing and sends a message to the district court that this document is to be taken seriously. And then it has the case law. Plaintiffs may not file a complaint in this court without having made a reasonable investigation of the facts. In addition, attorneys who learn after filing a complaint that the factual assertions are false must immediately withdraw the claims. See City of Yonkers versus Otis Elevator, which stands for the proposition, looks like, a lawyer shall not bring or defend proceedings or assert or controvert an issue therein unless there is a basis in law and fact for being so that is not frivolous. And then it has another case where they imposed Rule 11 sanctions for amended complaint that repeated allegations that lacked evidentiary support. Rule 11 sanctions is you can be sanctioned to pay attorney fees for filing complaints that they have to get an attorney to defend against, and someone who should have never been the subject of a complaint had to come out of their money in order to defend a complaint that was not grounded and based in facts and law. So that's what Rule 11 sanctions is. Given today's revelations, Mr. Busby almost certainly failed to undertake a reasonable inquiry into the facts before filing the complaint. He should never have brought the claim. See Fox v. Bocher, affirming sanctions order where plaintiff's complaint was entirely frivolous and was made as part of a conscious effort to harass the defendant. At minimum, he should withdraw them now, allowing these claims to remain pending even a moment longer, not only hold on one second, y'all. Sorry, I thought I heard my baby coughing and choking. Okay. Let me see. Given today's revelation, Mr. Busby almost certainly failed to undertake a reasonable inquiry into the facts before filing the complaint. He should never have brought the claims. Okay. Okay. See Fox v. Bocher, affirming sanctions order where plaintiff's complaint was entirely frivolous and was made as part of a conscious effort to harass the defendant. At minimum, he should withdraw them now. Allowing these claims to remain pending even a moment longer not only harms Mr. Carter, his family, his businesses, his employees, and his legacy, it also impairs the integrity of the judicial system, thwarts the pursuit of justice, and silences the voice of true victims. Furthermore, it appears that Mr. Busby has attempted to circumvent the authority of this court to enforce Rule 11 and associated obligations by declining to seek admission to this court before signing pleadings and other documents. Mr. Busby is not licensed to practice law in this court, and he has not sought, let alone obtained, admission pro hoc vice. Yet, in the nearly 8 weeks since he initiated this proceeding, Mr. Busby has filed a complaint in this matter that was signed solely by him using an S signature. Signed the amended complaint alongside other counsel that added Mr. Carter as a defendant and noticed a motion for the plaintiff to proceed anonymously, accompanied by a supporting brief and a declaration, once again signed only by him. Most recently, on December 10th, 2024, Mr. Busby filed a letter which he also signed alone. So if you are not licensed to practice in a state, and we've talked about that over here, you do have what's called an ability to pro hoc vice in. And what that is it means for one time only for that specific case. And I know when I started practicing, I don't know if it went up, but you can have it like 5 times throughout the year where you can pro hoc in. Maybe it went up because he done filed a whole lot over there in New York. And it's not a class action, so I'm not sure how he would be able to, but anyways. So nonetheless, what he's saying is he filed the complaint and he's filed these motions, but even though he does have local counsel, most local rules say you have to have local counsel on there because they do want someone who practices in that state, because a lot of law that you use may be from the state court as well as, the laws and case law from the federal court. So they do want somebody that's familiar with the rules, procedures, and practices of that state, especially in federal court, because they don't play any games up in there, okay? They let you know when you pass the bar and you go to federal court and you walk yourself up there in that blue or black suit. Those games they let you play in state court, we don't do that here, okay? So leave all those shenanigans across the way, because in federal court, we are strict with our rules and we do not play. We know all the rules. Those doggone judges know every single rule in that federal rules of civil procedure, and you better know it too, or you won't be able to make it practicing in federal court. And so what he is saying is that he's affixed his name to these documents, and he has not even filed a motion to pro hoc in, even though there are other attorneys that are local counsel on there. You still have to pro hoc in order to be able to and they're able to run the case yourself. I don't know how true this is. Again, these are all allegations. I haven't looked into whether he's been allowed to or whether he's already admitted in New York. I don't know. He may already be admitted. Sometimes you can be admitted in multiple states and you're not just licensed in one state. But according to this, they're saying he's not even licensed and he's putting his name on these motions, the amended complaint, he hasn't even sought to pro hac in. So, Mr. Busby's failure to obtain admission to the bar of this court is a transparent attempt to circumvent the basic requirements of Rule 11 and the rules of professional conduct. Admission subjects an attorney to the jurisdiction of the court and to sanctions for signing pleadings that are not grounded in the facts and the law. This is interesting. So then they have a footnote for Man We Shoe v. New Peking Taste, Inc., declining to refer attorney to the disciplinary committee of the district, given these of the district for his inflammatory and extremely disturbing conduct because she is not admitted in this district and she has not entered an appearance in this case. So what they're alleging is he has purposefully not admitted himself because then he would be held accountable under Rule 11, but it's really nothing they can do because he hasn't availed himself to that district yet because he hasn't pro hacked in. That's interesting. Whew. Admission subjects an attorney to the jurisdiction of the court and to sanctions for signing pleadings that are not grounded in the facts and the law. Mr. Busby thus appears to have strategically declined to seek admission in order to avoid sanctions for a complaint that he knew had no factual basis. Given these facts, Mr. Carter intends to file immediately a motion to strike the first amended complaint under Rule 11C2 and 12F. He respectfully requests that the court shorten the filing deadline for that motion from 21 days to 1 day from the date of service in light of today's stunning public disclosures and the severe ongoing harm to Mr. Carter's reputation. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to say. I have never heard an allegation of you didn't avail yourself to the district, and that can be a way to circumvent being sanctioned if any of these complaints turn out to be frivolous because they really don't have the authority over you because you haven't pro hac entered into their bar anyway. That is very interesting. Mr. Busby, we need a response. We are open to a response from you because these are some hefty allegations. Very hefty. John said Busby is, yeah, I think Busby he just did a post about winning some millions of dollars. I think he said he's won about $10 billion total in his practice. He seems like he does very well for himself. Is anyone else's spidey senses tingling? Something feels way off. Intellects, we're going to have to really ponder this situation. So the woman came on and it was some inconsistencies because, well, the pictures are what they are. So if they have pictures that show that they being Sean, Jay-Z and Diddy were at a after party at a club, but she's saying that the after party was at a house, but they can show that that's not true. It was at a club. And then she's saying, well, I don't got all the facts together. Because, see, I was wondering how she was drugged and she remembered all these details. That's what I was wondering. and how she was able to run and be coherent and go to the gas. Like, to me, she remembered a lot. It was a 7-room house, and the room had only a bed in it. Like, she remembered a lot of details to say that she was drugged and woozy and didn't know what was going on. I don't know. Keyshawn says she could have forgot. Okay. I agree with others. I don't think he thought it would go this far. I think he thought he'd get a settlement from the demand letter. That's from them folks. I don't know. Lawyers aren't here to tell the truth. They're paid to tell their client's story and get you to believe it. What? Wait a minute. You do know I am a licensed attorney. That is not the truth. You have good facts and you have bad facts. You can choose your client, but you can't choose the facts. That is the truth. However, I probably turn down more clients than I take. If I'm not feeling it and I don't feel like I can go hard in the paint, then I don't take it, because that's how hard I go for my clients. So that's not everybody. I don't like the generalization of all lawyers. You just said lawyers aren't here to tell the truth. You ain't say some lawyers. You ain't say a few lawyers. You ain't say lawyers from certain state. You ain't say grimy lawyers. You said lawyers. So you done lumped us all together and made this accusation, which is very offensive. I'm not feeling that, LM. I'm not feeling that at all. Do I believe that some people have had bad experiences with lawyers? So yeah, there are certain stigmas on certain lawyers. There are certain that they just look at everybody like, but every lawyer is not like that. If I was like that, I'd be a billionaire, because I done turned down some stuff that, hey, I'm not that lawyer. I work too hard for my bar card to have it on fire and flaming and people writing things like this about me. I'm not going to do it. I haven't met one client worth my license yet. I don't care how much money you got. Sorry, LM, you're literally wrong. Okay. I don't care where you work. You could have worked next to the DOJ. That is not true at all. Point blank, period. So you don't have to apologize to me. Apologize to yourself. All right. You know what? See, now, okay, nothing you said was wrong. Okay, let me tell you how wrong you are. Let me show you. You can call me out my name, but don't nobody come for my integrity. I don't care who you are. So there's that. Okay. Back to regularly scheduled programming. So there was an attachment. Let me see. Exhibit A. Okay. Jay-Z, RAPE accuser, comes forward to NBC News, acknowledges inconsistencies in her allegations. This was printed December 13th, 2024 at December 13th, 2024 at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Standard. And this is by Chloe Miles and Janelle Griffith and Maady, big word. I don't know how to say your last name. I'm sorry. But it has an Alabama woman who accused Jay-Z and Diddy of essaying her when she was 13 years old, sat down with NBC News to recount what she called a, quote, catastrophic event, a limo ride to a White House, a drink that made her feel woozy, an actual assault by rap stars that would ruin her life. But the woman and her lawyers also acknowledged that there were some inconsistencies in her account in response to questions by NBC News. Quote, I have made some mistakes in her recollections of that night. The woman, identified as Jane Doe in the lawsuit filed against Jay-Z and Diddy, told NBC News. The woman says she stands by her allegations overall. The inconsistencies in her account of the incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago do not necessarily mean the allegations are false. So she's saying, regardless to her inconsistencies, she still stands by her allegations. Among the inconsistencies, the woman said her father picked her up after the alleged sexual assault, but he says he doesn't recall that. The woman also claims she spoke to a celebrity at the after party where she said she was sexually assaulted, but that celebrity said he was not in New York at that time. And images from that evening show Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean Carter, and Sean Diddy Combs at a different location than the one the woman described, although their whereabouts for the entire evening are unclear. Now, that is true. They could show pictures at a party, but that don't mean that you ain't had no after party to the after party. So I guess timing would be important. Did they shut the club down at 2 and 3 in the morning? And she's saying she went right after the awards? Or was this some hours later that she's saying that this happened? This incident didn't happen, Carter told NBC News in a statement Friday, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. He added, referring to one of the woman's attorneys, Tony Busby, quote, "True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory. This was over before it began. This 1-800 lawyer doesn't realize it yet, but soon." Busby says he is continuing to vet her claims. Now, Busby, brother counsel, you got to vet her claims before you put it out here in the you're continuing to vet her. Like, what does that mean exactly? Did you not talk to the father and see if that was true before you put in the complaint? Because that seemed like that would have been the first thing I said. If you say that your father picked you up, I'd have been like, can you get him on the phone right now? Remember, I said we got to see if the father is alive first, because he might be the only witness. He'd have been the first person I called. What does that mean? Continuing to vet? I can see trying to boost up but the basics in your complaint, the father looking to see where these people were, looking to check and see if there's pictures online. Like, we didn't do none of the basics first? I don't know. I don't know about this. Dakota Blake said, I noticed in the initial complaint by Busby, he put out a time of 9:30 p.m., but in the amended complaint, he took the time out. Oh, okay. Good catch, Dakota. So you're saying in the original complaint, he said all this happened at 9:30, but in the amended complaint, he took the time out because the math was not mathing. Okay. Let me see here. Let me double check what you're saying right now. Is this the John? No, that's somebody else. I've been all over. Let me see if I could pull that original complaint. Hold 1 second. Please, you guys, hit the like button if you guys like the comment. I like the comments. Jesus, like the content. Let me see. New York. Let's see what the first complaint had to say. Huh. Let me go to the facts. We're going to get to the article, but you made that on or around September 7th. Plaintiff then 13 had a friend drop her off. The driver instructed plaintiff to return around 9:30 or 10, promising to take her to the party. Wait a minute, let's go back. Hold on. Let's pick this up here. Paragraph 38 of the original complaint had the driver instructed plaintiff to return around 9:30 or 10, promising to take her to the party. Later that evening, plaintiff excitedly returned to the driver who drove her alone in a black limo. So there was a time frame of 9:30 or 10 at first. So you're saying they took it out, huh? The second one. Let me pull up this second complaint. Sean Carter. Let's see here. We're doing on-air research here. So let's go to the facts now. Plaintiff arrived at the venue, and the event began. One of the limousine drivers she spoke to claimed to work for defendant Combs. The driver told her that Combs liked younger girls. The driver stated he had to drive Combs to the after party, but instructed plaintiff to return to his location after the event. That is a good catch. So in the original complaint, there was a time. And in the amended complaint, the time was removed. That was a good catch. Very interesting. And I think the reasoning, like you said, the math wasn't mathing, because now Diddy, when you put a specific time, Diddy and Jay-Z would have been able to say where their whereabouts were at that time. So if they had an after party that was at a club, they probably left the VMAs and went to that after party after the club because they got paid for it. So I was thinking the after party at the after party is probably about 3, 4 in the morning. So that's what I was saying. But if you just talking about 9, 10 o'clock, yeah, he probably was at the club. Right. Dakota over here like, wait a minute, the time changed. Check out the time. Very interesting. That was a good catch. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the article that was attached as Exhibit A. This is after Busby says he is continuing to vet her claims. Quote, Jane Doe's case was referred to our firm by another who vetted it prior to sending it to us. He's like, it wasn't me. Who gave you this case, Busby? Can you tell us who the attorney was who gave you the case? Our client remains fiercely adamant that what she has stated is true to the best of her memory. We will continue to vet her claims and collect corroborating data to the extent it exists. Because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. I've never had a client suggest that before. You haven't? You've been practicing how much longer than me? In any event, he added, we always do our best to vet each claim made, just as we did in this case. This has been extremely distressing for her, to the point she has experienced seizures and had to seek medical treatment due to the stress. Well, she probably shouldn't have done an interview. I'm not understanding why she would do an interview. How does that benefit her to do an interview? Who came up with this idea for her to do an interview on NBC that apparently I missed? And this is a picture of Diddy, I guess, and Jay-Z. I don't know if this is supposed to be. Jay-Z denies allegations that he and Sean Diddy Combs. Okay, but I don't know if that is where the party they were at. I don't know. They seem a little dressed for an after party on this picture, so this might have been someplace else. The allegations against Carter suggested a systematic shift, potentially linking the rap legend to the alleged behavior laid out in the civil and criminal cases against Combs, who is in Brooklyn jail awaiting trial on federal trafficking and racketeering charges. Carter's attorney, Alex Spiro, said, quote, "It is stunning that a lawyer would not only file such a serious complaint without proper vetting, but would make things worse by further peddling this false story in the press. We are asking the court to dismiss this frivolous case today and will take up the matter of additional discipline for Mr. Busby and all the lawyers that filed the complaint." Wow. So everybody whose name is on here, let's see whose name is on here. So they have the Busby law firm is on here. There's an Ava law firm. They're out of San Diego. And there's a Curis, I guess, law firm out of New York who is on this lawsuit. Combs' attorneys called the suit a shameful money grab. Busby has filed more than 20 lawsuits against Combs. The lawsuit was originally filed in October in the Southern District of New York, listing Combs as a defendant, and it was refiled Sunday to name Carter as another defendant. NBC News traveled to Houston to interview so this was probably at his firm, who declined to be identified at her attorney's office, earlier this week. Why are we litigating this in the media? Didn't he say he wasn't going to litigate this in the media? What is this called? If you got somebody, you have your client doing interviews, that is called trying to litigate it in the media. I just don't know what to say right now. Again. Now, this is Busby allegedly saying this stuff in this article, how he's responding feels like, except for saying that his client is still adamant that this happened to her and that she's willing to take a lie detector test. I wonder if, I'm not going to say this because then y'all going to really be coming for me. But I don't, man, that's a toughie. You said they pay for interviews? Key Alexandra said, how is she doing interviews as a Jane Doe and telling on herself and her legal representation? This is so ghetto. They have pictures from 24 years ago. They probably do, Lamario. I found pictures when I do wrongful convictions. I've literally found pictures on Facebook, MySpace. I found all type of pictures from people from years ago, and they not celebrities. So yeah, you can find pictures. Thank you so much, Attitudes and Tylenol. Thank you for being a member for 6 months. I appreciate that. Name change 412. Thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. I appreciate that. I'm just over here flabbergasted like you guys are, reading this for the first time. Busby, I just want to hear your response. I mean, we see what you're saying in here. I'm not saying this being very helpful in this article, but I just refuse to believe. I just don't want to believe you would just not vet and have your bar card on fire. I don't want to believe it. I just don't want to believe it. I'm not going to believe it. I need more proof. You know what? Skylife said, now we can infer Busby didn't vet other cases against Diddy. He's basically saying that I got this from another firm who probably, well, part of that too, that I'm not going to say that the other firm may not have had the financial ability to handle a firm against a big person like Sean Combs, because you got to have the money to run these cases too, because I'm sure this was on contingency. I don't see anybody with a boatload of money coming to these people. These are people that are, so you're taking a risk when you take their case that there's going to be a settlement or you're going to win at trial. So assuming there's no big retainer and that it's on contingency, which I'm pretty sure that it is, the other firm may have just said that maybe they just don't have the manpower, because I would hate to think that they would refer a case, especially if there's a relationship that they know wasn't really vetted. So when he stood up and did his press conference and said all these people were vetted and he already had about 20 that were ready to go, but he had his 1-800 number, you're basically saying you personally didn't vet it. It was supposedly a third party that vetted it and gave it to you. You just took their word for it and affixed your signature? Tell them TB Blazing BP. I'm up here working, okay? I'm gonna need y'all to just like this video. You know what, Larry? That is not nice. We just investigating right now. I'm just flabbergasted right now. I don't know. Shanta, one of one, said that's why he wasn't banning people and reaching out privately trying to get quick pay. Just imagine though, the people that were allegedly paid just because they didn't want their name out here. This is kind of corroborating almost what Jay-Z said. Like, I'm not that guy. You just not gonna get money from me. I ain't from the Marines, but I'm from Brooklyn, close enough. You're not about to just punk me up out no money. So just imagine the ones that were so worried about their reputation, because it's very hard to come back from these type of allegations. You can win in trial and people will still look at you side-eyed and say, well, I still believe the victim. You know what I'm saying? Even though a jury of your peers has acquitted you, it still is a stain. That's why these are heavy allegations and people file defamation lawsuits when people put them out there, because it's very hard to come back from that. So Jay-Z was one of the ones to say, you're not doing that to me. We're going to fight. I'm going to start out doing John Doe and sue you because I feel like this is extortion. So I wonder how this helps his case and that he filed against him. Basically him saying, we're still vetting it. We haven't totally vetted it. We're still vetting this case. And a third party vetted it, not me, but I put my signature on it. Is that other attorney's firm name on there? Because I don't know. Baby, this is very concerning. This is very concerning on so many levels. Let's go on to read the rest of the article. NBC News traveled to Houston to interview the woman who declined to be identified at her attorney's office earlier this week. Quote, you should always fight for what happened to you, end quote, she said about why she is going public with her accusations now. You should always advocate for yourself and be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did ruin or run your life. I just hope I can give others the strength to come forward like I came forward, end quote. The woman, who is now 38, told NBC News she was living in Rochester, New York in 2000 and was attending the VMAs, was on my bucket list at 13. It was like, oh my gosh, one of those things I've got to do. She said she snuck out a window to evade her parents. So people was asking where her parents was at. She said she snuck out of a window. Okay, that should answer your questions. A friend drove her to Radio City Music Hall. So apparently she do at least, assuming this friend was licensed, she hang around older people, 16 and up. That's what it sounds like to me. If a friend drove her to Radio City Music Hall, unless the friend decided to steal a car or something, I'm just going to assume the friend had a license. She said in the lawsuit, people thronged into viewing areas outside the venue, which was decked out for the awards. Crowds roared when J-Lo arrived. Eminem performed on the street. She didn't have a ticket. See, she ain't put J-Lo name or Eminem in that complaint. She didn't have a ticket and said in the suit she watched some of the show on a jumbotron outside. She also started chatting up limo drivers. I'm trying to get in to try to stay back and get to an after party and get invited in and meet some celebrities, she told NBC News. One limo driver said he worked for Combs and that she, quote, fit what Diddy was looking for, end quote. The suit said, and he told her to return later and he'd take her to an after party. After about 20 minutes in the limo, she said in the suit, she arrived at a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway, she said in the suit, and signed the document that she didn't read. Inside, she told NBC News, I'm talking to like Fred Durst, Benji Madden about the tattoo because about his tattoo, that's the Last Supper, because I have a religious background. So it was just something to talk about. After accepting a drink from the waitress, she told NBC News, quote, I started feeling funny, tried to start looking for a place to lay down, end quote. She found an empty room with a bed in it, she said in the suit, and soon after, Combs, Carter, and a woman entered the room. You are ready to party, Combs said, according to the suit. Both Combs and Carter essayed her. She said, Jay-Z comes over, holds me down. I start trying to push away. He puts his hand over my mouth, tells me to stop, to cut the ish, and then he essays me like he had me overpowered, she said. Afterwards, she said in the suit, she managed to flee the house and ran to a gas station. I was upset, and the person at the gas station could tell that I was obviously upset, and she let me use the phone. I called my dad because he was the only person I trust at that time. I told him I messed up. I needed a ride home, she told NBC News. We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was. So now she's saying she never told her dad. See, I guess maybe me. I was inferring from the lawsuit that if her dad picked her up and she told him that she had snuck out and what happened or whatever that she told him. So I guess she's saying she never told her dad. So he wouldn't have been able to corroborate any facts of the story allegedly anyway. Because it could have been, even though it's hearsay, there can be an exception. If she was upset, it could have been an excited utterance when she told him, or something that could have been an exception to it being hearsay. But apparently, according to this, she never told her dad anyway. She told NBC News she never told anyone about the alleged assault or wrote it down in a diary. Quote, even if somebody found out, who was going to believe me? I mean, it was to the word of two celebrities against mine, she said. Well, no, it would have been three celebrities, right? Because it would have been Sean Combs, it would have been Sean Carter, and it would have been this celebrity B, who is the woman. The years after were hard, she said. I got severely depressed. I withdrew completely. My grades started slipping, and she dropped out of school. She experienced homelessness, she said, and at one point suffered a head injury. She and her father also said she was essayed later in life. So this lady has had a head injury, and she's been RAPED later in life. She now has two children, a son and a daughter. She served less than a year in the Army National Guard and left with the rank of private. She got her high school diploma and, quote, got my Christian counseling certification so that I can help people who have gone through what I've gone through, end quote, she said. She also said she has her applied behavior analysis certification so she can help people with autism, which she says she has. So she also has autism. There are so little resources to moms that don't have the proper amount of income, she said. Reaction was swift in the days since the woman went public with her allegations against Carter. The rapper released a statement calling the claims idiotic and heinous in nature and sharply criticizing her attorney. There are some inconsistencies in her story about that night. Her father told NBC News that he does not recall picking her up after the alleged attack, casting doubt on a key detail in her lawsuit. According to their address at the time, her father would have driven more than 5 hours from their home to pick her up. So whoever allegedly picked her up, her friend, when she climbed out the window at night, drove her 5 hours. He said, quote, "I feel like I will remember that and I don't," end quote. He said in an interview Thursday, quote, "I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that I would definitely stick in my mind," end quote. The woman's father, who said he learned of the alleged assault this week, so he just learned about it when we learned about it, added that he did remember once picking her up in the middle of the night, but he said it was a local drive. Asked about her father's account in a follow-up interview on Friday, the woman said she stood by her claim that he had picked her up and that it's possible he had misremembered. Quote, "There are a lot of things, and this is stuff that we argue about constantly. Something he said or did back in New York around that time period, he just doesn't remember," she said. Quote, "It actually causes a lot of fights sometime in the household," end quote. Regarding her father's recollections, Busby told NBC News, quote, "We agree he states he doesn't remember." His daughter explains that he was in no state to remember during that point in time due to personal issues he was having then. "We are talking about a time frame more than 20 years ago," end quote. Yeah. Okay, well, let's continue. You guys soak that in, hit that like button as you guys are analyzing all this information we're getting from this interview. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It's over 1,500 of you guys in here. Come on now, get those likes up. The woman also told NBC News she spoke with musician Benji Madden at the after party. What it sounded like is she did this interview, and I don't know why the attorney would not have thought this was going to happen. She did this interview, and when she gave specific names, NBC fact checked. They ain't trying to be sued. They fact checked to try to see if any of the stuff was true. Whatever they can try to corroborate or whatever to see what's true and what's not true. You know what I'm saying? And that's journalism. And this is what it sounds like. They recorded this interview earlier this week. And then throughout the week, they tried to contact these people or corroborate what she was saying. So the woman also told NBC News she spoke with musician Benji Madden at the after party. But a rep for Madden confirmed that neither Benji nor his brother Joel attended the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time. Then they put, the woman did not accuse the brothers of any wrongdoing. Quote, "Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me and route that I took to what happened to me. Not all of the faces there are as clear," the woman said in the Friday follow-up interview. So she did a Friday follow-up today. So she said all the faces she saw while she was there wasn't clear. So how you know you seen Sean Combs and Sean Carter and this other celebrity? Quote, "So I have made some mistakes. I may have made a mistake in identifying," end quote. The woman also could not provide further information about the after party she said she attended. Professional images viewed by NBC News show Combs and Carter were among the celebrities who attended a VMA's after party at the Lotus nightclub in New York City. It is not clear what time those images were taken or if Combs and Carter attended any other after parties. The building that housed Lotus, now closed, does not match the description of the house the woman described in the lawsuit and interview. So they even tried to match and see, well, does the after party for Lotus, like, does that building match a house? Quote, I didn't know exactly where we were going or even how long it took, end quote. The woman said when asked Tuesday where she thought she was taking that night. She added that she had guessed about the length of time the trip had taken in the lawsuit. Busby said, quote, we have attempted to confirm the correct location. We have never suggested the location was the Lotus Club. Our client has been very specific and detailed about the description of the venue she says she was taken to, and she has never stated it was the Lotus Club, end quote. He added, we won't speculate on whether there was an after party because, again, she doesn't know that. We won't speculate on whether there was an after party. But she's speculating on who she talked to at the party, and now the faces could have been blurry. Also, among the women's allegations that could not be corroborated is how she made it to New York City that night. That was another question y'all was asking over here on the internet. One of her attorneys provided NBC with the name of the birth date of the friend she said she drove her, who would have been 20 at the time. So she was 13, and her homegirl who she was hanging with allegedly was 20. 20 years old, hanging with a 13-year-old. That person appears to have since died. NBC News' attempt to reach the person's relatives were unsuccessful. So the name she gave of her friend who picked her up that night is no longer with us. It's with the ancestors. I'm not doing this with y'all tonight. Let me see. They about to file a motion to dismiss so fast. Let me see if they filed anything yet. No, they just filed for that motion conference. What y'all think? Whoever the alleged limo driver. No, because if you look at what she said, let's go to the limo driver. Let's go to that. So the limo driver, let's go to the facts again. The limo driver, plaintiff arrived at the venue, saw a large crowd gathering as artists and entertainers began arriving. Plaintiff was very excited. As the event began, much of the crowd moved inside, but plaintiff without a ticket remained outside with others and watched the VMAs on the Jumbotron. Determined to get into the VMAs or an after party, she approached several limousine drivers parked nearby and attempted to talk her way into either. One of the limousine drivers she spoke to claimed to work for defendant Combs. So she doesn't even know if he worked for him or not. The driver told her that Combs liked younger girls and said she, quote, fit what Diddy was looking for. And while not allowing her into the awards, the driver invited her to an after party. The driver stated that he had to drive Combs and others to the after party first, but instructed plaintiff to return to his location after the event and that he pick her and take her to the after party. So based on this, I don't see that she would even know the name. If you don't even know if he really worked for Combs, you think she asked, what's your name, sir? Can I have your first and your last name? I don't know. Quint Bart said, every time I try to make sense to support the victims, I find 20 more holes in the story. And see, this is the land, kind of the landscape that it is. And I said this a year ago. I said, what's going to start happening is people are going to look at this as a way. It's going to be a domino effect, and it's going to be case after case after case after case. He's going to start getting some of these cases dismissed, and it's going to start side-eyeing a lot of the allegations as if people are just coming after him for money. Cassie's was probably the most legit. I'm not saying the only legit, but probably the most legit because she was in a relationship with them, and that's to a degree. Okay, what I'm saying, as far as different accounts of what occurred, she named specific names of celebrities, and they corroborated some of the stuff she was saying. The security guard corroborated it, but he also said, that it was they just had that type of relationship. But then you had the Kid Cudi, you had certain things to know. We've heard a lot of time, he ain't the nicest guy. So I think what happens is people are playing off of the fact that they know that people don't like him like that, and he has not been the nicest guy. And so when you don't like someone, period, you want to believe everything bad that everyone says about them. And I think that's what a lot of people are banking on right now. She's gonna be like, I don't like Diddy. He did whatever they said, and people have said it in the comment. Whatever they said he did it. But it takes away, if there are alleged other victims, it takes away from that. You know what I'm saying? Because we're focusing on this stuff that just sound quacky. Why this young lady did an interview, I have no clue why she would even do an interview. I'm just flabbergasted. Val Bial said all Busby clients are lying, and he knows this is what Busby do. This is allegedly. This is from Val Bial. We don't know. What I would like to ask Busby, because I tried to DM him, but he don't pay me any attention. That's fine. What I would ask is how many people did you personally vet? Now that we know that you've taken referrals from third-party law firms, how many of these people did you personally vet? Thank you so much, a lady 747 for the super chat. Said Busby is on the disinformation campaign too. I don't know. I refuse to believe that he would do it purposefully. But for him to say working, to me, talking to the Fox, how did NBC do better vetting than you? You get what I'm saying? NBC did an interview earlier this week. So we're going to say Monday or Tuesday. By Friday, you talked to the person she alleged she talked to at the party who said no. You got pictures to corroborate the after party was at a club and not at the house. You corroborate. You talk to the alleged victim's father, and all she's saying is he had personal issues during that time, and so he probably just don't remember. How did NBC, a news affiliate, journalist, organization, do better vetting than that's crazy to me. I just can't wrap my mind around that. Because I refuse to believe that he put this in the complaint and he already knew all this information that NBC just found out. But at the end of the day, he's still sticking by her and she said that this happened. And so she's still saying that she sticks by her story and she's willing to take a lie detector test. And said that Busby was like, this has never had anyone that said that they're willing to take a lie detector test. So she's still saying that this happened to her. Even though the math ain't mathing and the facts ain't facting, she still said this happened to her. So they found Olivia Pope. He did zero vetting because it was a shakedown and he thought Jay-Z would never let this hit the public. That's from Just Me. But you notice though, Jay-Z did not get the backlash that Diddy got. So Jay-Z, a lot of stuff you hear about Jay-Z was like in not these type of allegations, but like things that you like, was like when he was younger. Jay-Z got married to Beyonce and kind of like everything was about business. If he showed up for anything rap-wise, it was like, I see you. He'd do the little concerts, randomly sell out everybody's theaters. I see you up there. I see you in the red hat with the red shirt with the blue. I see you. I see you over there with the Jay-Z shirt on. Like he just came out sporadically and he was about his business and his family. Diddy, on the other hand, he was still doing things that was like, he just got a personality I could live without. Like he still was just that, person. You know what I'm saying? So like even when, like I said, when he was like a host or one of the judges on one of those talent shows, which I don't know why people go on talent shows still, because you can go on TikTok and get the same amount, get some people to follow you and probably can make more money. I don't know why people subject themselves to let people tell you whether you good or not, but that's just me. That was just a side note. But he was on the show and he was sitting up there, he sit there and be looking like, you suck. And then the dude Elijah from Detroit was the one that stared him down. They were staring each other down and it became a meme. They were like, and he was like, you don't know where I'm from? Elijah stared him down like, I don't know who you thought or what you thought. But he still just had that aura about him. Then all of a sudden he go on this, everything is about love. I'm going to do a love album. I'm like, just a random, but Jay-Z, for the most part, he seemed unproblematic. Like he was just about his business for the last whatever decades. I ain't talking about who he dated back in the day. Everybody keep bringing up all these people he allegedly dated and stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying just generally. So when it came out with him, he didn't get the same perception, that like reaction that Diddy got. He actually, I think more people gave him the benefit of the doubt. So I don't think it ruined him. Like people immediately disassociated themselves from Diddy. Immediately, right? You have people like, you can have your money back. I want my key back to the city. With Sean Combs, they was like, no, the NFL was like, we're not about to break ties with him. Not right now, we not. So it was just a different reaction, how people reacted between the different Seans. Bees on Mars said, when Vanessa went to see the red chick to have big fun, Cliff had questions and Claire was about to catch the case. This is sus to me. Thank you so much, Bees on Mars. Well, what she's saying is, he's saying like the address we was at was 5 hours away. So I think if I had to drive to pick her up in 5 hours, listen, I ain't never snuck out like that out the window because my parents is both crazy. But I went places at 15 or 6. Like I remember sneaking to the mall at like my mom used to do these all day seminars. So I was like, I could never go anywhere. So now I was like 14 I think I was like 14. It was during the daytime. I wanted to catch the mall. Back then you hung out with your friends at the mall. So I went to this mall called Fairlane in Dearborn, and you had to like catch buses to get there, like more than one. So you had to like transfer. And so I never really took buses, but me and my friend were going. We both like in the 8th grade. So I'm like, shoot, we gonna go at like noon. We gonna go to the malls around Christmas time, and I'm gonna hurry up and get home before my mama get home. Man, we got on them buses. We got to the mall, but on the way back, we didn't know how to transfer. We didn't know how to transfer right, so we stayed on the bus too long. So my friend was like, Pam, we in Highland Park. Like all we do, we see these street walkers and stuff, because Highland Park on Woodward be a bunch. We see street walkers and everything. So we like ringing the bell, like let us off in front of the and let us off in front of this place, because we just like, we gotta call somebody. We went, we stopped, got off the bus. She was like, call your mom. It was like 8 o'clock, but I was like, I ain't calling my mama. She ain't about to knock me out. You call your auntie. So she called her aunt. Her aunt was cool, so she picked us up, but I still had to get home. So I had to call my mama. Like this ended up being an all day thing. So I didn't get home till like midnight. Like I had to call her to come. She didn't even say a word. She didn't say one word to me when she picked up. Her aunt was like, please, she's such a good kid. She got good grades. She just wanted to go to the mall. She was trying to get you a gift for Christmas. My mom was looking like, I don't care what you talking about, lady. She ain't say one word. We got in the car. We came home. And y'all, the rest is history. But I remember it like yesterday, and she remember it too. So and that was like 20 minutes from our house. I just got lost. You know what I'm saying? I ain't know how to catch the bus. I ain't catch no bus. I was trying to act like I was a grown-up. So I agree with people that say people sneak out. I never did in the middle of the night. I wasn't that bold. But it's something that I still remember, and my mom still remembers too, because baby, that was a night to remember. A lady said, I knew you were going to say Fairlane, the spot. Listen, I lived by Eastland. So all you had to do was take 8 Mile and go to Eastland, but it was dry. You know what I'm saying? Like Eastland Mall was so dry. So Fairlane was a huge mall with like 3 levels. But I just wasn't good at catching the bus. And so when you had to have your little 10-cent transfer, I ain't know where the transfer at. So I was just stuck on the bus. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't never do it again. I was like, this ain't this is not worth it. It's not worth my life. I wasn't even worried about the streets. I was worried about my parents. But yeah, so she definitely will say, I remember that story. And that was when I was like 14. If I wasn't 14, I might have been 13 going on 14, because I remember being in the 8th grade, because I remember I was with my friend Antoinette. And that was the last time I talked to Antoinette, because she ain't never let me talk to her again. She was like, I know she was the one that persuaded you to get on this bus. She will never be your friend again. That was it. Lonnie said Fairlane was the spot back in the day. We traveled from Toledo to go there. Man, listen, it was that mall. But it was far out. Like it was like nobody I knew lived by Fairlane Mall. Not one person. But I just didn't know how to catch the bus. So I got caught up in the game. Yeah, Northland been closed for a minute. Eastland is closed. We don't hardly have any malls anymore in Detroit. Listen, Cynthia says, Stacy, that first twin, same here, scared of my mama and the streets. Yeah. James, I don't know why she came forward on NBC. I really, obviously, she went to her attorney, so that's the reason why. I mean, JY said Fairlane and Lakeside Mall. Look at y'all, Michigan, Detroit area people up here on the live. Thank you so much for the super chat. Eastland, Lakeside closed too, Jay. Me and my twin decided we were going to Canal Street in New Orleans to get our ears pierced for our 13th birthday. My mother called one of our plans and we all went to Canal Street. Listen, mamas ain't play that. I had like around that time, well, I did have some bad situations, but I'm telling you, it was like during the daytime. My mother used to go to these all-day seminars, and when she would be at home, so I'm like, shoot, we can go and hurry up and come back. But it never worked. The couple of times I tried to leave, I got caught up in the game, and she always had to pick me up. So it was some twins that went to our church. So all the church people would come to our house. So myself and these twins, we were like, we want to go to the movie. So it's a Bel Air shopping center, and it was a movie theater there on 8 Mile. So we went to Bel Air and we took a cab. So I'm like, we straight. So we opened up because I ain't good at no buses. You know, I've already proved that. So we took a cab. So we opened up the yellow pages, called the cab. We went to the movies, but we didn't know that they'll take you. But when you try to call cabs to pick you up, they don't come to pick you up back then. So you got Lyfts and Ubers and stuff now. But so we were calling. We were done with the movie at like 7 o'clock. My mom wasn't going to be home till like midnight. We kept calling. And again, even though it was straight down 8 Mile from where I live, I don't know how to catch the bus. So I didn't even know how to catch the bus. So we're sitting there like, we're like waiting on the cab. We're calling. Nobody comes. So eventually, I had to call my mama to come pick me up because I ain't had no way home. And I called her, and I was like, Mom, she was like, I know where you are anyway. I'm like, how you know where I'm at? This is not like when you got air tags and stuff back in the day. She was like, you left the yellow pages open, dummy. Where you take the cab to? So we like left the yellow pages open on the table. So we had the cab company. So she knew when she came home that we had caught a cab. Woo, I was on punishment forever. But yeah, every little incident I had, my mom like still remember, because she still brought it up to my kids. Like, I don't know why she on y'all like that. She did A, B, C, D, and E. But yeah, that's my story. Cynthia said the gas station attendant never called the police at 13-year-olds alone in distress, drop out at 14. Yeah, it's a lot going on, Cynthia. It's a lot going on here. Let me see if Busby said anything, because he hadn't said anything the last time I looked at his. He mighty quiet. Yeah, he ain't said nothing. Busby ain't said nothing. Let me see. Did Rock Nation say something? Let's see what Rock Nation had to say. Okay, Rock Nation said, oh, I could pull it up on here. Let's see what Rock Nation had to say. Hold on. We just took an intermission to talk about when I was bad as a kid. Let me see. If you guys could hit that like button on your way in, subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Rock Nation. Today's investigative report proves the attorney Busby filed a false complaint against me in the pursuit of money and fame. This incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory. This was over before it began. This 1-800 lawyer doesn't realize it yet, but soon. So that was from Sean Carter. So yeah, this is getting ugly, y'all. It's getting ugly. The Golden Experience said, do these victims need permission to do interviews once represented? Well, the Golden Experience, in this case, the interview occurred at the attorney's office. So I'm assuming that the attorney was fine with the interview. And this lady is from Alabama or lives in Alabama now. And the interview was in Texas. So she got flown into Texas, I guess, to do this interview. Right. My sister said 1-800 hit like. TB said parents in the 50s did not play any games. Street lights on. We better be on the porch. Cousins also. I'm not from the 50s, but parents in the 80s and the 90s is like that too. Oh, man. That's what he said, 1-800 lawyer. Some lawyers will sell their soul for clout. They definitely will. You know, some lawyers are called what I call media whores. Like anything that can get them in the media, they're willing to do so. That's just what they are. They like the attention of it. But I like to win. Like, that's it. I like to win in court. I don't like L's. I hate L's, but I mean, if you're not losing every now and then, you're not learning and you're not actually trying cases. Like they tell you that in the beginning. Of course, you're not going to win everything, but you should definitely be winning more than you're losing. Or you might want to think of something else to do. But yeah, that's what I just said. Everybody was home when them street lights came on. It's just a different era out here. Did Diddy ever respond to the person who claimed he dangled him off the balcony? I am not sure. I did pull that lawsuit, but I don't know if I ever read it thoroughly. There were 3 more lawsuits that were filed against Diddy yesterday, and it's 3 different new accusers, and they're men. And yeah, it's just very similar. I can't go over every single lawsuit about what people claim Yeah, there were 3 guys, and this attorney filed on behalf of all 3 of them. They have 3 separate lawsuits, and it was filed in state court instead of federal court. So I think these individuals live in New York as well. I don't think she did it from the lawyer's office. She was in the shadow in front of a white door with fingers paint blotches on it. Looks like a house. I think the article said, let me double check. It says NBC News traveled to Houston to interview the woman who declined to be identified at her attorney's office earlier this week. That's where I got that from, was from the article. So that's it. Hit the like button. We'll probably be back because I think what he's gonna do next is file a motion to dismiss this case. And he's trying to expedite everything, as you guys see from the letter. The summons just got issued on December 12th to actually serve him, to serve Jay-Z on the actual complaint, because you're not supposed to serve until you had the summons, unless you can stipulate and just agree to enter into the case. But typically they have to serve you. Generally speaking, rather, is the best term I guess I should use. So what's going to end up happening is that his attorney stated in this letter, Cynthia said, "I'm sorry, but I have questions and issues with this whole case and complaint." What do you want me to do? What do you want from me? So he said, given these facts, this is Diddy's attorney, Alex Spiro. Mr. Carter intends to file immediately a motion to strike the First Amendment complaint under Rule 11C2 and 12F, and he respectfully requests that the court shorten the filing deadline for that motion from 21 days to 1 day from the date of service. So once he files it, he does not want the other side to get 21 days to respond to his motion to dismiss. He wants the other side to get 1 day. You got 24 hours to respond to this motion. That seems a bit, asking a lot to have to respond with case law and everything. In light of today's stunning public disclosures and the severe ongoing harm to Mr. Carter's reputation. So he's trying to hurry up and get a resolution to this, and he'll probably try to get the whole complaint removed off of the docket. I mean, a lot of us have it, but to stop any ongoing damage as well. So he doesn't want them to have the time to respond that you typically get to respond. He wants them to have to respond immediately, and then the hearing coming immediately. Alex Spiro is out here working, okay? He is out here working for every doggone dollar that he got. All right, y'all. That's it. That's the update. That's the update. Thank you guys so much for coming on the live and correcting me on my jacked up title. I really don't know how that title was the way that it was in the beginning, but it's correct, and I might change it again too. But and thank you for everyone that gave super chats. I appreciate all of the love, and all of you members, I appreciate that as well. The link to the membership is in the description. I'm sure we'll be back. It'll be more of this coming soon, and we'll be right here to talk about it. Again, these are all allegations that is being waged against Busby and his client. She still maintains that this happened to her. Again, Mr. Carter said it's all a lie. And that is both sides of the story, which is what we do over here. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.